Hello and welcome to the return of the Rise of Skywalker Spoilercast and review. Somehow, we thought this was a good idea. I'm your host, Noel Slamrockin, and with me is Dr. Aggro.
We were wrong.
Bob.
They fly now.
And Chris Wolfhard.
April 1st be with you.
And that's right. We, in our desire to never be predictable with our April Fool's podcast, decided to re-review this movie over 6 years on. The best part, this was Aggro's first time watching it.
Yup. Yes, that's delightful. That makes this all...
I had entirely avoided it. I remember when it came out, everyone went, oh no, it's bad. I'm like, people are mad at Star Wars bad or like actually bad? And they're like, it's real bad. Like regular people are angry. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have to. And that was the moment. That was the moment I realized, oh, I don't have to care about Star Wars.
Yeah, isn't that awesome?
That's Rise of Skywalker is the moment perhaps a critical mass of people decided that.
Nope.
I think we're gonna learn exactly how many in a couple months when The Mandalorian and Grogu comes out.
Every time people bring that up, I'm like, that's a streaming show though, right? There's no way they made a movie out of that.
Yeah, that wouldn't make any sense.
That wouldn't make any fucking sense.
Well, they already made a movie into a streaming show. Might as well make a streaming show into a movie.
You will find that does not work in their favor. Who knows? Maybe it will be the best performing Star Wars film since... Oh, wait, this was the most recent Star Wars film. It has a lot to live up to.
Yeah, if The Mandalorian Grogu somehow makes $1.2 billion, I'm just like, I give up. Nothing matters.
Anyway, if you've never listened to one of our spoiler casted reviews before, basically what we're going to do is we're going to say a couple sentences at the beginning, followed by a guttural sound to give you our internal emotional state when thinking about the film. Then each of us will talk about praises, criticisms, give some anecdotes, maybe just navel gaze for a bit. And then at the end, you'll get our summary reviews and scores out of 10 individually, making for a maximum possible of 40 points. So let's get to it. We're going to start with Chris.
Rise of Skywalker is difficult to summarize. I think it is best understood as in the context of an improv bit where the two people hate each other. where Rian Johnson went, hey, J.J. Abrams, isn't it great to be at the mall? And then J.J. Abrams went, I wouldn't fucking know. We're at the library. So I give it a camp.
Bob.
This is the final film I saw in theaters before the event. Sitting on it for another 6 years, sure, did not do it any favors. I'm actually excited for Grogu.
Dr. Aggro.
I am usually the first person to jump in and object whenever anyone knee-jerk describes a sequel or a remake as them strip mining your childhood as a cheap cash-in.
When we set out upon this endeavor, I thought it would be neat because I thought there's so much of this movie that fell through the cracks of my mind. And 10 minutes before we hit play, as I was having a conversation with a friend, I realized something, and I look over at Bob and I go, Bob, I remember this whole film. Oh no.
Yeah.
You remember more than you say.
And with that out of the way, man.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm like, this movie is terrible to watch, but I'm starting to become fond of it from the angle of how did you make this? There's just so many pristinely hacky things that any one of which would be legendary on its own.
Yes.
But because this movie is composed entirely of moments like that, somehow people never talk about any of them. They're just tired and go home.
Yeah, I think part of it is we have not just J.J. Abrams, but also that dude from the Jurassic Park reboots, the Trevorrow or whatever.
Yeah, Trevorrow.
So they make the absolute like torment nexus of a bad script.
Like, do you remember that line from the Assassin's Creed movie where the scientist says, "It's my life's work," and what's his face says, "It's my life," and it has nothing to do with anything else that's going on. It's just a line they thought of in isolation and thought it sounded cool and fucked up the scene by putting it in the movie. That's this whole movie.
Oh, yeah.
This movie is like 45 TikToks stitched together.
Yeah, the best part is the dialogue is so bad normally. And then you hit scenes that feature Leia, and it hits a new high where they have these posthumous recordings of her they need to contextualize to make remote sense. And they fail completely. Every scene is full of someone else saying, "She is doing the thing. Look at her do the thing." And then the old woman shuffles around. It's kind of... this would be one of those things where if it were a movie end to end composed of said things, this would be a legendary outstanding oddity. But this movie's that end to end.
Tell me what we think of this. Rise of Skywalker feels like a video game adaptation of itself.
It is like so in a hurry to get to another action segment, like at all moments. It can't rest for even a second.
Right.
So I understand what you're talking about.
Because there's just so much stuff that feels like you would add it in your video game adaptation to pad out the runtime, like the "we have to erase C-3PO's memory, JK" arc. Or the straight out of the Force Unleashed Rey and Kylo Ren force grappling over the shuttle.
Yeah.
It's because every moment in this film seems like they also, like a video game adaptation would, looked at the thing you would have to do to get there to go, that wouldn't make a good video game. And then skipped it.
Like, okay, most times when you're watching a movie and you're in a bad scene, you're distressed because it's not ending. This movie will start a scene and get halfway through it, and it's already bored of the scene it's doing and wants to end it and do something else now.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's why Kylo Ren magically appears like every time that they get anywhere. It's like, oh, we need him to confront her again. We need something cool to happen right now, please.
I did not know that this is where they fly now.
You didn't know that?
Wow, that is shocking.
Y'all said it a couple of times, and I thought, okay, I will eventually pick up from context what this is from. And then it went on too long.
That's amazing.
So when it happened, and it wasn't just someone saying they fly now in a weird way, it was 3 different characters mugging at the camera, spewing this shitty line, making it worse every time.
Aggro, the only reason it even stuck is this is a trailer.
Yeah,
this whole trailer was just that.
Yeah. Oh, no, I never watched a trailer. I knew nothing about this movie. I didn't watch a review of it. I didn't listen to anyone talk about it. I checked out of Star Wars.
So here's the thing, though, and I Bob and I were talking about this while watching the movie. It being in the trailer is why that stuck in culture at all. Because if it was just in this film, and you saw it 40 minutes into it or whatever it happens, you would be so fucking nerve-ending numb in your brain by this point. There's no way it would stick.
Yeah, like nothing else from this movie has stuck.
I don't think I've ever shouted the word hack at a screen so many times in my life.
Now, Aggro, I need your opinion on one very specific thing in this movie. The dagger that shows you where on the crashed Death Star the secret plot thing is that must have existed before the Death Star crashed, that only works when you are standing in one exact spot.
I've thought about that dagger a lot, because if you start from the stance that thing makes any goddamn sense, it represents perhaps the only actual evidence in the entire series that Force users can see the future. But it's still really, really fucking dumb.
Technically, I think the dagger could have been made after the Death Star crash, but there's still the hundreds of like, how would you know exactly where to stand? All of this. How would you know that the crash site didn't change at all in like the 50 years since this happened?
And where it's pointing, for the record, is just the DLC room off the throne room of that Death Star, which I don't think you needed a super specific map to point people to.
It's so fucking dumb.
It is.
It's so insane how they just show the throne, the wreckage of the throne room, and pan over to like the Dark Souls 2 DLC door that will take you to the new area.
Yeah, no, when she actually went in there, I was like, wait, this is real? This isn't a dream sequence?
While watching the movie, they pull out the dagger. They establish the dagger, and Bob says something about like, oh, I forgot the dagger. And see, this is where Bob and I come at this very differently, because that dagger is honestly one of the things I thought about most in the 6.5 years since this came out. 6.25 years, because it's single-handedly possibly the dumbest, most we need a MacGuffin thing in the movie. Like, it's already a movie stretched to almost
two other MacGuffins, even.
Right, stretched almost to disbelief by these tiny pyramids with 3D maps on them that you need to have in order to fly into the weird red nebula to appear where Palpatine is. This knife, this dagger, is somehow the dumbest thing, because it has so many layers of, it's just a point to a room next to the throne room. You have to stand on the shore of hopefully consistent height over the 40 years, 30 years, or whatever in between these two events. Who made this and why? It's a cool looking dagger, though. Wow. It's incredible.
Like, they could just have it spit out a holo map when it sensed it was in the presence of the Death Star wreckage. Like, there was no reason to make
why
it
was
that
it not
stupid.
a little holo map? What the fuck? A tracker or something. God.
Well, look, they just played Uncharted and they wanted that.
Yeah.
Like, I get the impulse to rip off National Treasure. It's a fun time. But if you make a thing and it's objectively dumber than National Treasure, you need a day job.
You know, one positive rewatching this movie that I realized during it. J.J. Abrams hasn't made a movie since, basically. And I'd like to keep that streak up.
God, is that true? God, I hope.
This movie was J.J. Abrams throwing a fucking tantrum. He was so mad. He was so mad about that second film. Like, it opens with, no, we're doing the magical destiny. We're doing it.
You know what? Considering that Disney very, very, very clearly associates Solo totally bombing with Last Jedi Backlash, I'm not even sure it wasn't from Disney.
Oh,
It might have been.
oh yeah, no, this is perhaps the most reactionary movie of all time.
I think it's crazy because it's like, yeah, no, the second movie happened because you didn't make a plan. If you made a plan for a trilogy, that wouldn't have happened like you wanted.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that. Also, unfortunate news, Bob. J.J. Abrams' directed, written, and produced movie comes out in November.
See, we got 6 whole years.
Wow.
There was no J.J.
Well,
Abrams
no,
movie.
at that point, it would be nearly 7. It would be
Right?
like weeks off of 7. Real quick, Bob and I were discussing, It's been a while since we watched The Last Jedi. I'm going to see if either of our other co-hosts remember. The person in charge of the main ship with the dyed hair in The Last Jedi, who is a famous actress from many what's the name of that director? David Lynch films. Is she alive? Like, by the end of that film, did she die? She makes a noble sacrifice and dies, right?
Are we talking about Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, I think she does the warp ship into other ship thing, doesn't she?
Okay.
Because
there are so many.
I figured it was.
Which they immediately in this movie say nobody can ever do ever again.
Well, then they do it in this movie.
Do they?
Yeah, that's one of the ending shots where like, oh yeah, over the Ewok planet, you can see that someone has done that to another ship. And I'm like, stop it. That's so stupid. Stop
Is
it.
that?
You can see the Star Destroyer split down the center.
Yeah, it looks
completely.
exactly like the way the other one happened.
I mean, that's the ship being blown up.
I honestly don't, by that point in the film, I wasn't really paying attention to the space battle because I'm exhausted.
But Laura Dern isn't dead.
She isn't dead?
No, her character, not the
character,
actress.
not the actress.
Her character. Yeah, her character's dead as fuck.
The discussion point being the relevance of, was she pulled out of this movie because of, again, this is the most reactionary movie of all time. And even, I believe her name is Rose, is drastically reduced in her importance as a character.
That might have happened at the actress's request, considering the fucking
no, that's
shit
true.
she got.
Oh my God. No, when that scene happens, when fucking Finn, like, they're on the radio and he's like, I'm gonna stay behind to do a sacrifice to blow up the ship, and Rose is on the other side with the comm. I'm like, is JJ gonna do it? Are we just gonna have Rose go, yeah, that's super sick. Sacrificing yourself to kill the enemy is a good thing to do, actually.
She's like, thumbs up, buddy.
This movie is terrible, but I think it's exactly the follow-up The Last Jedi deserved.
No, hard no. The Last Jedi is not a good movie. Fuck this movie.
I am willing to go it one step further, and this is the follow-up Ryan Johnson was hoping it would get.
Oh, you think he masterminded the ultimate good luck following this up middle movie?
I think he wanted to totally destroy the very commercial-y way Star Wars had become, and left them with something. There was nothing they could do but this if they wanted to go back to that. It's like, you either do what I want or destroy every single thing, and you won't do what I want.
That's not bad.
Like there's never been a movie that's just... I need to watch the MCU movies from that era, because is this the exact moment Disney just decided, we're just going to do what the internet wants forever?
Yeah, this...
Because that very clearly is what the MCU became.
I feel like this is actually like higher levels of parody of like, oh wow, this is ludicrous. Like, not even MCU movies got quite this bad. But who knows? I haven't watched all of them. Maybe there's something hidden in there.
I think it's interesting because, in my estimation, both The Last Jedi and this are kind of doing the same thing, where they look at the film prior to them and they go, well, that's not happening because I think the most interesting thing to do right now is to not do what that asshole was doing. But it's magnified and made so much funnier that it's the first guy again right after fucking The Last Jedi. And that, remember when I said we were doing something that wasn't genetic clandestine shit? I lied. That person... Look, we were all really into lying a moment ago, and it's also worth noting we could have a billion more Snokes. We won't, but it's important to note we manufactured Snokes around here.
Yeah, no, I love the Snoke vac. That's still like my favorite part of this movie. It's so stupid. It makes no sense.
Jesus Christ.
The whole thing with the Emperor in the big magic ancient Sith throne room on the arm, talking about how he's masterminded this whole okay, I'm going to say something that you're not supposed to think because it's mean. And J.J. Abrams likes Star Wars wrong.
Yes.
I don't even know if he likes Star Wars. I don't know if he likes anything.
Yeah, I don't know if he likes Star Wars, and again, Disney is so lame. I'll never be able to pick out which of these was actually J.J. Abrams and which of it was he got the bullet list from Disney and is like, do these things.
It works backwards. They actually got the information about what Epic wanted to do in Fortnite, and they're like, well, we have to make a movie based on that.
Because the Rey being tied to Palpatine thing was just fan speculation. Like, there's no way Disney didn't look at that and then go, we're doing that. That'll make people happy again after they didn't like The Last Jedi, which is why Solo failed, and not just because Solo is absolute dog shit that nobody under any circumstances would have ever wanted. Why on earth did you make that movie?
Well, they made that movie because they, for some reason, started making a movie with some director and then decided to meddle to the point they had to fire him and completely change the movie. I love Disney.
Bob, that the paycheck's not going to clear. That didn't sound very believable. Can I get another take on that?
Neither The Last Jedi nor Rise of Skywalker is lesser. They are both.
They are both
lesser.
No, they are not equivalent. They are not the same ballpark. Last Jedi is a sloppy, weird, forced jank of a movie that actually has a couple of interesting scenes in it that do cool things. This movie is fucking garbage.
Okay, so we have a recording. We have a review we did shortly after this came out, over 6 years ago. And in that, I said, and I don't regret saying these things, that I enjoyed this movie a lot more than The Last Jedi because it is truly staggering and awe-inspiring, the levels of stupidity this movie slides through nonstop. And being in a theater for that was an incredible experience as I hear people around me go, what?
Yeah.
But 6 years on, having seen it, knowing it all, that's gone. All that's left is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Right. I also had a similar experience of like, man, yeah, seeing this train wreck happen the first time was exciting. And now it's just like, yeah, this happened 6 years ago and I don't want to see it again.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to announce that they're just like every single Star Wars thing we made up to this point isn't real anymore.
They
we need a do-over.
Are leading into that. Like,
yeah, we're going to do
like the only question is if they just kneel and just do it, or if they try to use time travel to do it.
Oh my God! Please don't put time travel in Star Wars.
God,
they already
have need one more thing.
They already have.
What?
That's why Asuka can still run around. Ahsoka can still run around.
Really? I thought that she was just old.
Oh, was that in that show?
It's either in that or it's in like the Rebels show that they did. There was something where somebody travels forward in time.
Well, as long as you can only go forward.
But yeah, I can just see in my mind them being like, "Oh my God, you altered the time travel the timeline so nothing after Return of the Jedi happened."
I mean, now would be after Mandalorian, I think, because that's actually doing well.
Oh no, it's not doing enough to carry the entire franchise.
Yeah, probably not, but it's not doing anything disastrous to the timeline.
See, they'll get J.J. Abrams back to do Star Trek 2009 with Star Wars. Like, they'll recast Leia and Han and Luke and just do a movie directly continuing from Return of the Jedi.
Would that do well?
I don't even think that'd do well.
Yes, it would. That would do insane. If they were serious, just like it's all new cast. That would absolutely do well. Maybe not if J.J. Abrams involved. Maybe get somebody else.
Yeah,
I think J.J. is so tainted, but for Star Wars at this point, that wouldn't work.
But I definitely think like, all their nostalgia pandering seems like it has mostly not been successful, so they just need to do a different kind. But see, there's already the fan theory that Grogu is actually Yoda and will at some point travel back in time. It's all set up.
Lame.
They get to restart making them at episode 1. Oh my God.
Oh my God. I feel like as much as fans of the original trilogy would be upset to have them be remade, I think somehow prequel fans would be more upset to see the prequels be remade.
Because original trilogy fans are all 75.
Yeah, they're still working on that Star Wars Starfighter movie. And I've actually been seeing stuff come out of they are filming it. That is actually real.
Yes, that's going to come out. That has fucking Tom Cruise involved somehow, so it's definitely going to come out.
Yeah, and then the main character's like Ryan Gosling. So that might be an actual legitimate...
Unless Mandalorian and Grogu does so bad they cancel it instead of doing post-production.
But yeah, I think with Ryan Gosling being the main character, this might actually be the real new launching off point for Star Wars. Who knows? We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm not sure how well a Starfighter movie will even do with Star Wars fans. I think the problem is, and this is a problem that's like the Star Wars fans who really like The Last Jedi and Andor don't seem to understand. The maximum amount of interaction with Star Wars the average person wants is to see a movie once every 2 years with their family that ends with a lightsaber fight.
I thought we were all here for the trade blockades and economic tension. Man.
Why does everybody make fun of that? That's the best part of those movies.
No, I thought we were all here for it, Aggro. I'm not making fun of it.
See, the problem is that would be more relevant than ever now, so they should probably do it again. They should be like, here's the leader of the New Republic. It's Donald Trump. What else were we gonna do? It's Donald Trump, but he's one of those racist aliens from episode 1, one of the Trade Federation guys. He's one of them. So you have that voice going around doing Trumpisms.
So at some point, so they need to tell George Lucas about the ancient duel that he can challenge whoever bought the copyright to it for him from.
Man, there's no way he'd ever want to. But that would probably be better than anything Disney could ever make on their own to just get him to consult even. At least then it would feel like a game came from the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
God, there's so much pristinely horrible, hacky shit in this movie.
And you know, one of them, okay, I objectively believe, that's a weird sentence, I believe that it is objectively cool to land a troop carrier on a Star Destroyer with a cavalry contingent on it.
Uh-huh. No,
that's fucking awesome.
Right, that should be incredible.
I mean, yeah, it happened in the middle of this movie, so, you know. But that's still a really cool concept.
It's so insane to me. They introduced a black love interest for Finn so people wouldn't ship him with the white girl.
God.
That's insane.
Yeah,
that is psychotic.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have him go, Rey, I have to tell you something. I think I'm forced sensitive because everybody thought I was the Jedi based on the trailer for the first one. It's like, fucking, what are you what is this movie?
Like 50% of Rey's dialogue is just announcing that we have done a callback. Never underestimate a droid. The blade shows the way. She just keeps saying things that other people said earlier in the movie. When she's doing the duel, with Palpatine, and he says, you know, I am every Sith. And she goes, and I, and they let the moment hang, and I'm on my couch gripping a pillow, screaming, "Don't you fucking say it!"
Well, this is what everything was building towards.
They are absolute cowards to have gotten all those voice lines recorded, but not then follow that up with them all being there as Force Ghosts doing the family Kamehameha. Then that scene would have raised to be absolutely incredible, and I'd have to give this movie a 10.
This is such a minor shitty hack thing, but I can see it. I can see it somewhere in the soulless corporate hack that oversaw this movie going, fans like yellow lightsabers. We haven't done one of those in a movie yet. Make Leia's lightsaber in the flashback yellow and make Rey's at the end yellow. Do it. People like it. They'll clap.
That just drove me crazy because then later in the movie when she's using it, it's blue for some reason. Like Leia's lightsaber?
Should change.
Yeah, Leia's lightsaber wasn't yellow in the flashback.
Oh no, it was only.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I got it confused with the Force Unleashed, where she has one. Because they look equivalent. The CGI past Leia and the Force Unleashed video game Leia, they look the same.
Evil Rey's nutcracker lightsaber. She does the Bilbo face at her. The rah.
Yeah, no, that's comedy gold, honestly.
Oh my god. Like she accidentally kills Chewbacca. And then the next scene we're shown he's fine. And so we cut back to our heroes who aren't going to take time to care that just happened because the audience knows he's fine.
Yeah, no, the whole movie has that tone of like, it can't have these characters emote at all. They just have to get to the next scene and do it.
Mm-hmm.
I drove me crazy early in the movie when they were going around with 3PO. And 3PO is there, like, I think they've taken good dialogue from him from old movies. And it feels like he's just trying desperately to make a Star Wars happen. And everyone else is running around him, not letting that in any world happen. God, why did every Star Destroyer need a world-destroying laser?
Because we're Dragon Ball heroes now. We need the biggest and most epic and unstoppable threat the universe has ever seen. Every Star Destroyer needs to have a Death Star cannon, which perhaps should have been the form factor of the Death Star to begin with.
Just the Emperor just like raises this giant fleet of Star Destroyers out of the planet. And it was one of the many points where I just yelled, "Fuck you."
Like how did he it doesn't strain credulity any more than the fucking Star Killer base.
This entire sequel trilogy is just rancid. They really do just need to delete it. It's all bad.
Yeah.
It started out bad, it got worse.
Put it in the vault.
That's kind of how I agree.
God, like there could have been amongst the many interesting things there could have been in this movie was this whole angle with General Hux now serving under Kylo Ren and still hating him. But instead of having that, we just had him shout, "I'm the spy" at the camera.
Yep, and it was a comedy bit instead of anything interesting.
Yup, and then in the next scene he's in, we have him do a fucking desperado slide all the way down the room when he gets shot with a blaster. Which is not a thing blasters do.
But it was funny in this scene.
It was a very strong blaster.
Maybe it was secretly a bowcaster. Yeah, like I kind of feel like it was cooked the moment Abrams tried, like through a series of pathetic contrivances that were not elaborated on at all, immediately reestablished the rebellion and the empire.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's when it was just obviously this cannot work. This is not how you do this. You're stupid.
And then they blew up the capital of the New Republic, something you don't get watching that movie. You have to be told it.
I also think it's wild. They killed off all their legacy cast members. So this one, they're like, bring in Lando, I guess. And we don't know what to do with him even. He's just here.
And Bob, that's not even enough. They have to also bring in the ghost of fucking Harrison Ford to be like, here's an emotional climax. This movie needs an emotional core. We need Force Ghost to deliver it.
But yeah, no, I like that scene so much because in an interview they're like, so what are you, a Force Ghost in that? And then Harrison Ford's like, what the hell is a Force Ghost?
Yeah, at this point, Harrison Ford being in anything is elder abuse. Shout out to Brave New World.
Oh
God.
It's just so ludicrous that Force Ghost Luke walks out and is like, everything I said in the past movie was wrong, and you, fan watching this movie, everything you thought was correct.
Lifts X-Wing. Fuck you.
Yeah. All of
Once
that.
again,
It was so cringe.
I think this is what both Disney and The Last Jedi deserved.
God, I hate that they introduced that mechanic of using the Force too hard makes you die. They had to do it again in this, and then they They did it twice in this.
And then she waits till Kylo Ren poofs to poof herself.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Oh, God. What's the name of that tiny-eyed old woman alien?
Maz Kanata.
Maz Kanata.
Yeah, she
Jesus.
might be the worst part of this movie. Because
Is
they
she
just
the
keep
one that's also in? Is she the one that's also in The Force Awakens?
Yeah, she's the one who has
Yeah.
Luke's lightsaber, and she goes,
Yeah.
I will explain another time why I have Luke's lightsaber, and she doesn't. Anyways,
No, you
Aggro?
won't. Please ask the Knights of Ren for further information.
Could we not talk about them?
That's weird. They aren't picking up their phone. I keep calling them back to Ren, and there's no
No, they did forward time travel. This movie keeps doing incredibly stupid shit and then cutting to her to make a wizened old lady face and tell you that this is momentous and important and good.
Of course, she's one of the people who steers that scene I talked about where Leia shuffles off and she goes, oh, Leia is now doing the thing she has to do and it's going to require so much of her. And I'm like, this movie's insane.
Here you go, Chewbacca. Here's your medal. This was a valid
That
thing
was-
to bitch about for the last 50 fucking years.
Yeah, I truly believe there is no coming back from this movie for the franchise. I think like everybody under 25 is like, no, I don't give a shit about Star Wars. What is wrong with you? Fuck no. The fuck is that? Something old people complain about? Get lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that like many scenes in this is just infuriating. Like, come on, dude. Come on, for real?
Okay, I wanted to wait a while to get into this. I don't, like I said, I avoided this movie entirely. I don't know what the discourse on it was other than the general tone, so I don't know what the reaction to this was. Why the fuck did Rey and Kylo Ren kiss at the end of this movie?
Because
Because Kylo Ren and Rey shippers were an enormous section of the sequel's fan base.
You see, they were both white, so they were in love.
genuinely, this movie comes off like that. That's fucked up.
Yes, it does. But a big part of it is that like it was the heroine and the brooding sad boy. So of course, like that is what fans super fixated on. Here, let me Aggro. You're a fan of Avatar, right?
Which one?
The cartoon.
Yes.
It was Zutara. Imagine if Zutara had been confirmed in the last episode of Avatar.
Yeah. Woo. Fuck. I just like I immediately thought of Pacific Rim. And I remember people at the end of Pacific Rim being like, why didn't they kiss? I'm like, did you watch the movie? Nothing would have led up to that. And it was the same thing, except they kissed.
Yes.
Well, don't worry. We have a whole sequel to Pacific Rim where some people might kiss.
I think the kissing existed because I have a friend who's a big fan of The Last Jedi who somehow still had the capacity to absorb attain new levels of hating this film. By the point they hit the kiss, and then the kiss happened, they went even more insane. I'm like, I can't imagine having feeling in my face by the time I got to the kiss. The movie was so thoroughly and pervasively stupid by that point that the kiss happened and I just laughed. Of course, now 6 years on, it's just another stupid thing in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so mad that, okay, the whole Kylo Ren and Rey having this like force contact thing where they're space warping by brain bridging. I thought that was cool the whole time.
Yeah, they're a dyad.
Yeah, that's like the neatest thing in the movie.
And then they explained it and it was no longer good.
Yes, they used it to do the dumbest part of this movie. Well, like, because you're a Skywalker and I'm a Palpatine, we're a Force dyad. Because I have decided that the Force, rather than like a quasi-Taoist principle of the flow of nature and the universe, is a stand-in for the word narrative. And I'm making a movie about how important stories are because I'm a fucking hack.
Abrams, do you think the Force might be spiritualist at all? No, it's Have you ever watched Dragon Ball Z? The Force is kind of like Super Saiyan 2. 2? Specifically?
I can't even be that upset at the new trilogy for that, because freaking prequels are when they're like, yeah, it's your midichlorian power level.
But
Like,
the whole
go
point
away.
is that they're wrong, and that's part of the downfall of their civilization. Like, that is very explicitly the text of that.
Kind of, but also he was a very strong Force user, so I don't know.
Except he didn't do diddly dick. Like, he didn't upset. They had to go with, at the very end, he threw Palpatine down the shaft after getting fucking owned by him and also by his kid. Like, I don't know, all his fucking midichlorians didn't keep him from getting 3 limbs chopped off.
It felt like they made him pretty powerful, but just, Obi-Wan's just that much better.
Right.
Maybe the prophecy should have been about him. I hate J.J. Abrams so much. The man has no soul.
No,
He truly doesn't.
No. Yeah, you proved that with Star Trek reboot.
And sadly, all media is now for him forever.
Mm-hmm. Like when you said, I don't think that was J.J. Abrams. I think that was Disney. I don't draw a line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to
The
delineate.
man's a fucking tool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, is that he's just gonna do. He exists, like, his career is because he will just do what he's told. What fucking TV show is J.J. Abrams famous for? Is it
Lost?
Lost? Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh, was that him?
Yep.
was it Lost or was it Dollhouse or whatever the obvious ripoff of Lost was? Was that Whedon? Was the Dollhouse Whedon?
Dollhouse was Whedon.
Lost is Abrams.
They're so close in my mind, like Joss Whedon got erased from reality and like his evil spirit went and possessed J.J. Abrams.
I am the spirit. I have all of Hollywood's hacks within me.
And then after this movie, it went and possessed all of Disney leadership. But especially Ryan Reynolds.
I feel like I could sit here forever and remember every dumb thing in this movie and name it and complain about it. But after so long of not caring about Star Wars and the drastic improvement that made in my life, I'm starting to feel like that's what this movie wants. That it is an animate, hungry evil that thrives on the suffering in your heart as it destroys something you used to like.
I don't know, The Force Awakens went pretty far towards that on its own, honestly.
They're the perfect duo. They're a dyad in the films.
This is truly the only way a Disney trilogy could end, and why I am so people are like, well, I'm sure they'll do a new trilogy originally. And it's like, why? It'll just be 3 more of this. They're not, unless the entire Hollywood system reverts back to like 1995, where they sometimes trusted creatives. This is just what it's going to be again.
Yeah, luckily I think they've canceled all the other Star Wars trilogies they announced. So
Yes, the
that's
only
something,
thing,
at least.
the only movies currently in production that we know about right now, despite them continuing to insist the Rey trilogy will happen, is Mandalorian and Grogu and the Starfighter movie.
Which we gotta talk. How the fuck is this not the Rey trilogy? Like, I know the cast is huge, but she's the centermost character.
Well, yeah, but it'll be about her being a Jedi Master and rebuilding the Jedi Order, which is what actually matters.
so
you see, the
unbelievably
whole
stupid.
sequel trilogy was actually Surf Dracula for Rey,
It's basically right, exactly.
even though she killed the Emperor. So who's the villain gonna be?
Imagine they ended the original trilogy of Star Wars films and they're like, the next trilogy is about Luke. That would feel insane. The beginning of that trilogy is Luke. Luke is the centermost character. What the fuck is wrong with them?
Did they ever? Okay, so at the end of this movie, there's a moment where the lady they picked up from the planet the Death Star bits was on turns to Lando, and they're like, "Hey, you want to do a spinoff?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that
No.
ever even potentially a
No.
thing?
They never
I
did
doubt it.
anything with it, but they sure put it there for that reason. Did anyone else celebrate the gay kiss that they edited out in China? I was like, hey, there it is. I can never remember it unless I'm watching the scene, but there's the K-Kiss that doesn't exist in certain regions. Wow. What an amazingly progressive film.
In the Rey trilogy, they'll just edit Finn entirely out of those movies for China.
Well, it's about really why would Finn be in there?
They'll just like at VFX him into being the Grimace in every scene.
Oh, Jesus.
That's where we'll be at by then.
Oh my god.
You know, Bob, I think you were onto something by saying The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker are a Force dyad, a theatrical release dyad, because as the Rise of Skywalker ends, all goodwill towards The Force Awakens that ever existed disappeared forever.
Yeah, no, like when The Force Awakens came out, I got it. I got why they did it.
Mm-hmm.
This like, okay, this seems like maybe sans a miracle. This was kind of the thing you may have been forced into doing to start this project.
Yes. Yes. No.
This movie.
It's right. And the thing was, like, in retrospect, a lot of people, because of prequel fan revisionism and other things, may not remember there was like an error over Star Wars where it used to be a glorious IP and the prequels may have sullied that a bit. And we would like a clean reboot and get things back to the basics. So they make The Force Awakens and it feels like it's servicing those people and setting up specific characters and things we can explore in later films.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no person overseeing the trilogy with the vision in mind in the least.
Mm-hmm.
So this film that could get a pass at the time, given the specific context in which it existed, was immediately 2 times in a row made infinitely worse for what it did because Jesus. Watching that one again must be fucking dizzying. I cannot imagine watching The Force Awakens again in a post The Rise of Skywalker world.
Yeah, no, why would you?
I feel like I did it. I watched a little bit at some point between, like, when that came out. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, this is awful. I don't think I even made it through. I was just like, ugh.
The movie, how do I put this? It's a less terrible version of this film. It is dumb in the exact same ways, but not as dumb. And with occasional moments, and all of these characters, except for the returning ones, are new. So there's something there. There's anything there.
Mm-hmm. Like one of the complaints people had about it was, oh, this movie is just dick riding old Star Wars iconography. And it was. Mm-hmm. It was a maybe overzealous but genuine celebration of, oh, wasn't this thing in Star Wars cool? This movie is like the prototype. This is now the cynical strip mine of we pulled a bunch of random shit and put it up on screen because that was in a Star Wars movie before. Rey running through the forest with the blast shield on her helmet, dodging the remote. Me screaming at my screen, "Fuck you!"
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then the great scene at the end where the Earth reclaims the lightsabers for some reason. It's kind of unclear why that's happening.
I think she's pushing them down. I don't know why she's on fucking Tatooine.
Right?
Yeah, it's like a day. Whatever. It's like, hey, my name is Rey. Rey's shields, and then movie ends.
Yeah, no, that as soon as we saw that ending again, I immediately was like, so wait, she shows up here, randomly buries these lightsabers in this town, or in this next to this house that's somehow still above ground, not completely buried by sand, even though it's not been occupied in like 50 years. Then they do a compilation of shots where a random other woman walks up so she has someone to say that stupid Skywalker line to, and then that lady disappears and she goes and does the look off at the sunsets like Luke does at the beginning of A New Hope.
Also,
like, good Lord, stop.
How does she know where this is?
I don't know.
Like, everyone who might have told her is dead.
It's true.
Chewbacca told her. Oh, wait, he wouldn't know. He would have known where Mos Eisley was, though.
Yeah.
So there was a whole scene of her going to Mos Eisley, asking around about the Skywalkers.
Yeah, how do we not have that scene? Go to the bar and then like there's a guy with one arm who's like, oh, I haven't heard that name.
But that would require the movie to slow down for even 10 seconds.
Then Greedo hobbles out with like a hole in his chest, and he's like, I remember. I am surprised they didn't somehow shove somebody shooting first into this movie. I've seen Solo, but I do not even remember if they did that in Solo, because that entire movie is fucking gone, except for the end, except for the teaser where they reveal the actual villain was Darth Maul. Please be excited for Shadow Darth Maul coming to Disney Plus later this year.
I think they already wrapped up the Darth Maul thing in like a comic book or a TV show or something, like a cartoon, even not even like a real
the cartoon
TV show.
Starts in a week.
I'm so glad that this movie affirmed that I made the correct decision to stop caring about Star Wars.
It
it's
did.
just not worth it.
Yeah,
you made the right choice.
I made the decision probably, I think even before the sequel trilogy started. It's like, I'll care about a game where you give me a lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the ideal form back for Star Wars now.
Yeah. It's
stop making movies, just make a bunch more Star Wars games. Nobody will care about how hacky they are because they're a game.
Uh-huh.
And you can pretend your IP still has creative credibility.
Within that context, it's very funny that Stig Asmussen left EA, so that third fucking Jedi game is just up in the air. Who knows what's happening with that? Who's directing that? What the deal is with that?
Yeah, that game came out in 2023. We should be hearing about another one about now if it exists.
We're literally the exact distance that we were in between games the first time, between Fallen Order and Survivor. So
yeah, it was like it was only 3.5 years. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I do want to put this in here again because I feel like I've done this with every single new trilogy Star Wars thing we ever talked about. Like every time we did content, like on The Last Jedi, and then this twice now. I want to cover my bases. The Force Awakens comes out, and I don't have a lot of experience with J.J. Abrams other than motherfucker made Lost the most what's in the box fucking TV show of all time. I didn't really, when I watched The Force Awakens, I had those feelings I expressed earlier. But then I went and watched other films of his and thought about Star Trek, which I had seen before then. I'm like, oh my God, this man is an idiotic child of a director. Every fucking scene is yelling and running places with exciting camera movements. He made he made Mission Impossible 3 for people who are curious. He directed that. And that is such a massive downgrade from the second one and doesn't fundamentally understand at all what intrigue is and does the out of order storytelling to its own detriment.
Wait, wasn't the second one John Woo?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, in the first place, yeah.
Well, a lot of people complained about the second one at the time. I like the second one more than the first one, frankly, but, that's a taste thing, right? They're going for very different things, the first and second one. The second one's trying to be the magnum opus of cuck films. Like truly the height of the genre as Tom Cruise sits in a cuck shed, literal, with his binoculars to see his girlfriend cheating on him. That third film's just terrible in the same way Star Trek 2009 is terrible in the same way that The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker are terrible. But The Rise of Skywalker might be the most Abrams has ever Abramsed. So anyways, I fucking hate this guy. Did anyone else have anything else they wanted to get out before we wrap up this review?
No, I'm very tired of talking about Star Wars.
But Bob, this might be the only podcast we've done since the last time, which was 6.5 years ago.
Ugh.
That's too frequent, huh?
Maybe we should just do this once a year.
No.
No, I literally didn't even need to watch it again this time. was the horrifying realization 5 minutes
Yeah, you
before.
remembered every single thing in it.
I
What a
really,
horrible feeling that must have been.
Yeah, it sucked.
Remember, God, what's his name? What's the pilot's name?
Poe Dameron?
Yeah, Poe Dameron. Remember his love interest that shows up for one scene and they kind of talk for a second and then she leaves the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have like a really cute moment right at the end. It's neat.
Remember the Sith weaponsmith that's really tiny little ape-like creature for some fucking reason?
Yeah, because he rebuilds the cock helmet.
Oh, that's the Planet of the Apes ape?
No, the one that's like 2 feet tall. And he like helps them rebuild the helmet.
I just remember the chimpanzee working on the helmet. Then there was Bibu Freak.
Yeah, Babu Frick, and I was about to bring up that we went this entire review without mentioning Babu Frick once.
Yep.
He's more like a weird little goblin than an ape. What a stupid movie.
Okay, so we're rolling on to our summary reviews and scores out of 10. We're starting with Chris.
Rise of Skywalker is the end point of all corporate art. It is the only place it can end up. There is no way to avoid it as long as people with billions of dollars are involved. It is a dark potent of a future we must avoid. So I'm going to give it a 10. Because it functions so well as a dark warning of a future we must avoid.
Star Wars accelerationism.
Yes.
Yes, apparently. I didn't know what I was walking into, but here we are. Bob.
Like every one of the sequel films, it gets markedly worse each time you rewatch it. Somehow it degrades even further than you thought possible. So I'm going to give it a 4, because I know if I watch it again, it'll be a 2, and then if I watch it yet again, it'll be a 0.
Aggro.
Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, does not actively promote white supremacy, Christian nationalism, or violence against LGBTQ people, so it gets a 2.
It does quietly do those things, though.
Oh yeah, you can read that in there, but
I actually struggle to think about one thing about this movie I like. The dubstep lightning was kind of lost in its value because I watched it on my TV with its built-in speakers because I haven't set up my speaker system. In theaters, that was one of the funniest moments I've ever had. Was Palpatine raising his hands.
I can't imagine.
All the audio dropping out and the subwoofer going fucking wild as he starts blowing up spaceships.
Yeah, just shaking the entire theater. It was really quite something.
I was dying laughing in the theater. But again, this many years on, knowing exactly what happens in the entire film, sadly, and having to watch it again and not being in a theater full of dismayed, upset, horrified, and confused people. The value of the film is it's basically lost now. There is no value here to me. And I can't say a single thing I like about it. I'm going to have to sit between Aggro and Bob at a 3. Because I can imagine worse. You know, I'm imagining, as Aggro said, the film that says it instead of believing it.
Yeah, right?
No, it's the will of the Force. It's fine.
Oh. Okay, Abrams, whatever you say. Anyways, that's going to give this a total of 19 points, over half of which is one guy.
This is data without context.
And an average score of 4.75. Aggro, I'm blaming you for this. if you had just seen The Rise of Skywalker,
Yeah, it wouldn't have been funny enough for us to do it if you had seen it already. So it is indeed quite literally.
This is victim blaming at its highest order, perhaps its final order.
What a stupid fucking movie.
The executive producers for this month's GigaBoots videos are Spaceman Spiff, Red Blaze 27, Brendan O'Sullivan, Cooper Tank, BN12, and Rado. Thank you very much to our executive producers, and also these guys. If you want to become an executive producer or a normal patron, head on over to patreon.com/gigaboots today.